Greetings, GameCola faithful, and welcome to a very you-centered GameCola podcast. This is podcast number 101, and I am your host and podcast commander, Joseph Martin. With me today, I have Alex Jedraszczak and James Pelster, who is a first time on the podcast. And also Diana Gray. So please introduce yourselves and we'll get started.
Hello everyone, I'm Alex Jedraszczak. I am GameCola's editor-in-chief and former podcast commander.
Hey everybody, I'm Diana Gray, resident fangirl of GameCola.net, and I was a little late, so you won't hear me talking until the second half of this podcast.
Hello everybody, I'm James Pelster. I'm the new guy, so I'm probably going to make a lot of mistakes, and then as time goes on, I'm going to make less mistakes.
Or more.
Well, I mean, I'll be off the podcast if that's the case.
I don't think we've ever actually kicked... No, we've kicked one person. We kicked my friend Dana off the podcast. But that was because she wasn't able to close out of Skype on her own because of her computer setup. Flashback. Alright, so today's podcast is focused on you, the fan, the listener. So we're going to go around and we're going to look at some comments around the sites from you. And we're going to talk about questions and discussions, and we're also going to look at the YouTube channel, gc.net, and we're just going to talk about your interactions with us. So, let's get started. I think podcast 100 part 2 had a lot of comments on it. So I think we're going to start there. And now a lot of these are from us, obviously. The first thing that stands out to me is that there is Paul... And then there is Paul Franzen, who are both here.
Oh yeah, when he forgets to log in. No, it is comical, however, that it has the same icon.
Yeah, it's true. He didn't bother to log in properly, but he did bother to put in his icon.
I wonder if maybe he has two accounts?
He might have an account that like it defaults to, and then he posts it, and he realizes that it's the wrong account.
Yeah.
Because that used to be the case for me before the site would just always leave me logged in. So here's a first one from MacBall, and it says, "OMG, this is my first time commenting on the GameCola website." Sorry, got existed there.
Commitmenting also.
Commit. Very excited, and also maybe using a phone.
Yeah.
God existed there to answer the question of why I stay on GameCola. I love listening to fun things on the podcast. It's always exciting to hear the sometimes weird/funny things you guys talk. I love being able to do something, most likely playing video games, while listening to the podcast. Which, MacBall, you may be interested to know that many GameCola staff people actually like doing something like playing video games while recording the podcast.
Yes.
We slack off too.
That is fairly common. Who usually does that? Diana does it a lot.
Yeah.
Especially now that Ace Attorney's out.
Gray's been known to.
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be able to focus. I would zone out and you just wouldn't hear from me for like forever. But there are lots of people who are like, "Oh, I've been playing this whole time." They're like, I didn't even notice that your attention was divided.
Yeah.
Some people are better at it than others.
Can I also note, welcome, McBall, from the many live streams that we've had. I recognize you.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome to the website.
Yeah. It is weird seeing, like, how our viewer base is kind of divided on where they first hear about us, because we've got definitely people who comment a lot more on the YouTube stuff, people who comment more on the site. We've got a lot of... We're growing a set of regulars for the stream, which I think is really cool.
Yeah. The
streams are going really well. And also, continuing down this, I think the only other non-GameCola comment on this page, non-GameCola staff person comment, Todofsky. I think that's... because isn't that a reference to Mario RPG?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, that's how you would pronounce it, right? Not Toad of Sky or Toad of Sky.
Toad.
Yeah, Todofsky.
Okay, and it says, "Kudos to Nathaniel for discovering you can complete a game on your own terms and still have a sense of achievement. I wonder if Backloggery has an achievement creation system. I don't think it does. I think you can put in how many achievements a game has and then how many of those you have completed, but I don't think it focuses on any specific ones. It's just like a fraction." percentage thing. And then he says, "Sorry, I'll stop doing all those searches. But seriously, it wouldn't surprise me if most of them were generated by spiders." I get the part that he's referencing. He's referencing the main discussion of this part of Podcast 100 with all the risque search items.
Yeah.
But I don't... Do you get the spiders comment? Is that like a reference to a technology thing? Or did you talk about
Yes, internet spiders crawl webs. Whoa, they crawl But, like, it is a real thing, is that there are bots out there that just go and, like, they'll go through a web page, and then they'll, like, go to every single link that is on that web page, and then they'll go to every single link on that web page. And, but...
Just go all over the...
It's used to help, like, search engines generate, right?
Yeah, that's like
Google
a major...
has spiders.
Yeah.
Spider bots.
See, the thing that confuses me is that I know, or I've come to realize that Google doesn't send along the search information. Mm-hmm. So, like, I'm just wondering where some of these people are. And, like, maybe it's true, maybe we aren't getting that many hits in proportion to everything. Just that most of the hits are through Google, so we don't see them. And maybe the people who are trying to search for risque things know that Google tracks their every move, and so they search on something else.
So do you have to pay for, like, Google Analytics? Is that sort of how it works?
I think Google Analytics is free.
Yeah, we do have... Actually, that is a good point, is that I do have Google Analytics set up, but since... Two things. Number one, since the site tracks it out for me, I only log into Google Analytics like once every few months. I've been ignoring the actual Analytics account. And number two, it is true that these were common even back when I was checking Google Analytics.
Right.
So... But I don't think...
I mean, Terrence has been writing careful what you search for a long time.
Yes. But those were usually more general as opposed to the extremely common, or at least filtered out, what I've been seeing lately.
And then there's another... Todoski continues. Jeddy is probably correct. I don't recall, but I probably found this site due to Phoenix Wright, and I return to these to hear focused or passionate discussion. Hashtag Lycos, hashtag Earthbound, hashtag RPGcast.
Yes, we were definitely on topic.
I don't know if we've done this before, if this has been done on a podcast or on a different, survey before, but aside from, obviously, the searches, like, what other ways, what are the common ways that people, like, what are people's stories for how they first found GameCola? Like, specifically, like, not just, how they found them, but, what they were doing, kind of more in detail how they found it. That'd be kind of interesting to hear about.
It has been, like, asked and discussed, like, to a minor extent every once in a while. I know that I've told my story that I was on LiveJournal, and I was on, like, a game developers community on LiveJournal, and Paul Franzen posted, "Hey, we're looking for writers." I was like, I can do that. And I know quite a few of the superfans have come through YouTube, I guess. Joe, I think you... Is that where you came from, or was that Diana? I kind of mixed up.
I think most of the staff that I know of, at least, like the more, I guess maybe more recent, and I think a lot of the listeners too, come through knowing, finding one of the extra things that our different staff members do. So, Diana's got her Let's Play channel. Michael Gray's got his stuff. Nathaniel's got his stuff. And then they usually find one of those, and then they find out that that person also does stuff on GameCola, so they'll start looking at their stuff on GameCola. Then, since most people don't do, at least these days, don't really do anything alone on GameCola anymore, then you meet the rest of the staff, and you get invested in them, and that's what keeps people around. That seems to be the story that I hear a lot. And that's basically what happened for me. Like, I found Nathaniel's Mega Man videos way back when I was in like 9th or 10th grade, maybe even. It was right before he uploaded his Mega Man 6 playthrough. When I found them. And it was a long time ago. And then I looked at some of his other videos that he had. I saw the GameCola stuff, and then I started going to GameCola, and the rest is history. My first the 50th podcast was one of my first forays into sort of like doing stuff like more involved in the site. So that was pretty cool. And now it's podcast podcast 101, 50 podcasts later. I'm still here.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right, the 50th podcast.
Yeah, actually, thinking about it, like this is I've now been doing stuff with GameCola. I wasn't hired until a lot later, but podcast 50 is when I really started like following GameCola, and now we're more than 50 away. So that's more podcasts away than before that. If that makes sense. It seems it's.
You've been with GameCola for more podcasts than not.
Yeah, following GameCola at least.
Yeah. So I think my story is actually kind of similar to yours, Joe. Is that because I used to be really into game breaking glitches in games, and of course I saw Nathaniel's. I think it was his Mega Man 5. Glitches and bloopers video, and that got me into Nathaniel's channel. So I started watching his channel for a while, and I was just like, oh, he keeps saying at the beginning of every playthrough that he's a staff writer for something called GameCola, and then eventually I was just like, I wonder what that is. And I went to the website, and I think the first podcast I found was actually the first Hacks and Slash, I think, or Read It and Weep as it was called back then before we had to change it. And then I just heard that, and I just thought it was so funny because it was so unique. That's not something I had ever seen before. It was people reading bad video game fan fiction and then just talking about it. And all this other stuff. And once I saw that, I was like, ooh, I should check out some of these other podcasts. And I think I actually went backwards in podcasts for the first one I listened to, because I went back and I listened to podcast 31, I think, which was a Metroid podcast.
Oh, yeah.
So that was way back then. So for some reason I decided I would jump back, because I was also kind of into Metroid at the time. And then that's about all the story I have for how I found it.
Yeah, I've been going around because it's also kind of interesting to see, especially ever since that I sort of became in charge of the podcast. One of the things I've been doing is trying to go around and look for people who are doing similar stuff, so podcasts or reading bad fan fiction and stuff, and seeing what they do that maybe we could use to make ours better, or also just seeing what sets us apart. And one of the things is that when we read the bad fan fiction for the podcast, we are very, it is more of a podcast than just a dramatic reading. Because we'll talk about it while we're reading it. And most of the ones that I see are, dramatic readings, and then people are laughing, but they're not really talking about it at all. And so one thing that makes our podcast a lot longer usually, there are some other dramatic readings of Metroid High School, for example, and they're, an hour and a half, and ours is 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Just because we were so confused.
This makes no sense. But yeah, that was one of my favorite podcasts of all time, is Metroid High School. I listened to that probably a couple times through over the course of a week, and I just could not stop laughing.
It is pretty good. It's a classic.
Yeah, especially because Joe, his Ridley voice was top notch.
Yes.
I'm not doing.
Daniel Hoover described it as Bobcat Goldthwait as a Muppet in puberty. Yeah. I think was how he described it.
Okay, Nathaniel describes most of my voices as Bobcat Goldthwait. My Ridley voice is kind of just a voice, and that was just the first time I used it. But it's also my Toad voice sounds pretty much exactly like that too.
Yeah, just minus the. Well, actually, that's right. This comment was on my article. It's Todovsky again. It was his counterpoint to my article. That's what I really like. That's what I really enjoy, is seeing is not just saying, oh, hey, I really like this, or something like that. I always love seeing, oh, hey, what about this idea? And hey, have you thought about this? They're kind of doing the same thing that we do.
Yeah, I guess that is kind of a cool thing about GameCola is there's a certain feel to the site that is very friendly and welcoming. That's
personal.
Yeah, as opposed to going to IGN or something where it is a professional reviewer telling you their opinion. GameCola is very
casual.
much. Yeah, there we go, casual. Yeah, casual, personal.
We're all filthy casuals.
Well, I can't say that that's not true. But
Speak for yourself.
GameCola.net. We play video games occasionally.
Yes. GameCola.net.
No, that one time
we do things sometimes.
Yes.
That one time we voted a game that none of us had played for Game of the Year.
Yes. Was it Journey?
Yeah, it was one that everyone heard was good, so we all put it at
Yeah.
number 3, but we all had different number 1s, and so it snuck its way up to the top.
Yes. And that's the other funny thing, is that so many of our superfans become staff members eventually. But it's because, GameCola is so welcoming and friendly that people feel, welcome to give their own opinions on what was mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
GameCola.net, gaming outside the mainstream, our actual internet website.
Or talking outside the mainstream games.
.com.
So what was Todovsky's comment?
On my article. So it's also interesting. This is it's interesting because the first comment was actually Nathaniel, and he was saying, it leaves him wanting more. So it's like, but I actually, in a comment later down, replying to Todovsky, I actually essentially expanded on the article, which makes me wonder whether I should just go back and change the article.
I'm not a huge fan of...
It's just like, he brought up some good points, and I was like, you know what? Sorry.
Oh, no. I was just going to say I'm not a huge fan of editing articles after with the fact, but I am a fan of posting follow-ups. So if you did want to expand on the article, you could say, revisited.
So would that be a separate article?
Yeah, but you could just say, hey, go read part 1 first.
So his comment was discussing my, ideas of whether game overs were obsolete or not. He said, counterpoint, ever since SNES games such as Super Mario World and Donkey Kong Country made it possible to save progress, why do so many modern games have a game over mechanic still? Because it works. Capcom makes excellent use of the mechanic throughout the Ace Attorney series, wherein the protagonist wanders around gathering evidence, arguing in court, none of which suggests any sort of danger at all, and all of which follows a linear storyline. Due to the storyline, each game will only progress when the player selects the correct option out of dozens of possible options. Surely a tedious task. What then can be done to relieve tedium, especially in cases where the player flails about? Mercy kill, or game over a stuck player, and introduce an imminent threat of failure throughout the game to discourage random button pushing, which I think is actually a good point. And it's funny because while I was writing the article, I had that exact, basically his exact point. I kind of had that in mind, but for whatever reason, I didn't actually elaborate on, kind of countering that counterpoint in the article, which I'm kind of upset I didn't do, because I think I was able to, talk about it quite well, actually. But it's just always nice to see, that, especially here, like I said, we've always got, they're always ready to share their opinion, and there's a lot of nice critical thinking that goes on. Even it's not every day that you see a gaming article and then you always see a bunch of comments saying, hey, I liked what you said about this, but I think this might I think differently about this effect in video games. Like, you don't always see people reviewing reviews, if that makes sense.
Yeah, somehow we've managed to avoid any large scale trolling or otherwise just hateful stuff.
Any.
Well, large scale.
Not any. There was the Games That Secretly Suck series, which was very well received, I believe. Is that not the case?
It does occasionally just get a random person from the internet to come in and be like, well, you're completely wrong. It's like, this article is several years old.
Aren't those the most, I don't know if they're the worst or the best, but aren't they the most rated articles?
I'd have to double check, but I can only imagine.
Yeah.
Obviously it doesn't show up on the top rated articles list.
But I think that's because there's a constant fight between people who want the game to be good and the game to be bad.
Yeah.
So I've come in and I've looked up some episodes of the GameCola pod. I just typed in GameCola and then looked at the first couple videos. The first one is the Not So Spooky Halloween podcast.
Is that the one with the fundraiser?
The fundraiser?
On YouTube, I just keep looking at
Oh,
the
yeah.
stupid
I didn't notice that.
Skull Man or something.
It's a fundraiser.
What is that?
I don't know if we're in it, because this isn't my banner, because this was a two-parter on the site. but Nathaniel made this. Nathaniel sometimes makes his own title cards. Actually, he usually makes his own title cards. This one was the featured video for a while too, which I think is why it's appearing so high on the search. Though I just looked and I thought I got confused on which comments these were. These are just like, "Hey, I like this." Yeah. This is Stefano saying he's in this one, and this one saying that. I think this is whose alternate account? This is Meowskovich's alternate account saying that they're going to get the 3DS Legacy Collection. Let's look at podcast number 85, though. Jeddy's last podcast, Commander podcast. There's some ones in here, too. We've got Small Girl 23.
Oh, yeah.
Who I think she's still around.
Occasionally, yeah.
She used to be around a lot more.
I think we saw her on the year-end awards live stream that she showed up. Yeah.
So it's cool to see her. But this is on. I think we brought up because this is called the GameCola podcast. And so I think we were talking about past episodes. And she brings up that she liked podcast 24, in which Paul gives Michael a brain aneurysm, which I think is more than just podcast 24. And she says when she needs some chatter in the background, she usually goes to that one first.
Well, that's good that we can, that the podcast serves not only as an intellectual, discussion on video games, it also serves as white noise in the background. Good to know.
And then we also have Jenna Colors.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Who was very happy about the fact that we talked about Side Table Drawer, I guess? Did we talk about Blue's Clues in this podcast?
Oh, boy. Oh, man, I wish I'd been there for that. That would have been fantastic.
I can't think of any other context in which Side Table Drawer would have been mentioned.
Yeah, I know.
Like, I do recall that, but I don't remember in what context. I do believe it was Blue's Clues, however, but I don't know how we got there.
I mean, it's the GameCola podcast talking about Nicktoons is pretty,
yeah, it's
not that much of a stretch. 2 out of 3 parts of Podcast 100 talk about Nicktoons.
Oh, we didn't make a 3 out of 3? But I guess that is accurate to the earlier eras. However,
yeah,
two-thirds completely unrelated discussion.
I was telling James about this earlier, but a lot of people when they first sort of get on the podcast, they say like, "Oh, what's off topic?" Because I don't want to mess up the podcast and make things off topic. And it's like I've just put that rule there because we used to have this rampant problem when we wouldn't talk about video games, but we would just talk about food and Nicktoons.
Yep.
So that rule was put in place so that the podcast would be more on topic, especially now since we don't do the off-topic podcast anymore. I just make a little short thing if there's a lot of off-topic funny stuff that ends up happening.
Yeah.
Which we've been funny and on topic mostly recently, so there hasn't really been a need for that.
Actually, one note, did you listen to the end of Podcast 100 Part 2?
Yes, I did. I was very happy about that.
All of those clips I got from, short segments from my, backlog of stuff that was ready for off-topic podcasts.
Oh. Okay, so that was all brand new material.
Yeah, none of that was from, an existing podcast that you've heard. All of that is stuff that was cut from previous podcasts dating back into, the 30s. Yeah.
Wow. That's cool. I didn't realize that.
Yep. So, it's funny because you're comparing Paul to the Golden Girls. That sadly had to be cut from a podcast.
Oh.
It is probably telling that I didn't notice that anything in there was particularly off topic.
I had so much fun making that.
Well, it was appreciated.
Yes.
Because I thought it was really funny. So now I've gone to the most popular episode of the GameCola podcast, which, can you guess? Jeddy, you might just know.
I guess podcast number 31.
I was going to say, You're gonna have to give me perhaps an era, like a range.
It is late U era. This is the most viewed podcast.
Most viewed. Sorry, I'm looking at the list, and I'm like, maybe your favorite RPG is overrated?
Yep, that's the one.
Yes.
Number 77.
Yes.
Huh. I think that one was very it ended up being very promotable, like the tags.
Yeah,
the tags are just a bunch of popular RPGs, and then like
that's kind of what I was thinking.
and then the title is very sort of if you like that RPG, like you want to fight me.
Yeah.
The comments are.
What's the most viewed video? Like, what's the most viewed GameCola related video?
I believe it is. I think it is Mega Pony.
Mega Pony episode 1.
That's
84,000 views.
Wow.
That's another one where it's very algorithm friendly because you've got people who like Mega Man and you've got people who like My Little Pony, and those two things just come together and make a very easy to find video.
Yep.
I like that Paul's guide to playing Curiosity, What's Inside the Cube, is still one of the top videos.
Yeah, that's what I was... Which is, like, more hilarious now that Curiosity, What's Inside the Cube is several years no longer relevant.
Several years done.
Yeah.
It was apparently used in a lot of, like, articles about it, too. I think I looked in the analytics once when I was uploading some videos for Nathaniel to schedule, and I looked at some of the analytics, and apparently there's a lot of off-site links from that one, which is where I think we got a lot of views. But back to podcast 77. So because this podcast was very searchable, we have some... I don't know if these are... I don't think these are regular... I don't think E. Weber here at the top is regular because his question is everybody here under 21 or what? which for some other podcasts that would be like a legitimate criticism of the kinds of games we're talking about because these are all obviously older games. But I mean it was Jeddy,
and Nathaniel Hoover. Like we're all like now we're all 30.
Yeah, so I mean, even then,
for my age, I probably play a lot older games than would be normally expected. Like heck, I'm probably more knowledgeable about classic games than I am about newer games, to be honest.
Well, I mean, it used to be a running gag that Jeddy hasn't. I don't know how accurate it still is, but Jeddy hasn't played a game since like later than Borderlands.
It's still relatively accurate. My most current game is Hyper Light Drifter.
Right.
And that's to say that Borderlands is number 2 because I haven't played a new game since then. Like that is.
I see some of these other podcasts. For some reason, we have podcast 75. We have one of the comments is like a Hunger Games reference for some reason. Also, if I'm not mistaken, Jeddy, isn't the thumbnail for podcast 75 Pizzerian?
Sorry, I'm looking at the site. I'm not on the. I mean, if it's blue,
it's blue, and there's like a spaceship, and there's a pizza with a ring around it.
Yeah. No, I know that there's one that has Pizzerian as the logo.
Gosh, I need to see if I still have that because I actually have that. It was ages ago when you first released the game. I think you went on like Twitter or something and released a couple free keys for it.
Oh yeah.
And I was one of the people that grabbed one.
Wow.
Way back then. So.
Wow. How about that? Well, congratulations.
Yeah, it was pretty enjoyable. It's very different. Like, I know that's like that's not necessarily a good or a bad thing, but it's different in a good way. Like, you don't see many games like that anymore.
I guess that's I mean, maybe we can talk about that later, but I guess that's something that I kind of go for and something that I liked about actual retro games. I'll keep that as a talking point for when we're done discussing. What were we talking about?
I went to the YouTube page, and I'm kind of sad because it looks like they've been deleting. Like YouTube hasn't been keeping track of the stuff on our actual channel page because I mean, it kind of makes sense because they've basically abandoned this. But I was going to see if there was anything interesting, but it's mostly people just asking about virtue/reward.
What are they asking about?
I mean, it's just like, any idea when the next Zero Escape episode is coming out? I hope you weren't being serious about stopping it just to mess with Paul. I'm with the folks asking for more VLR. Has it been dropped? I don't mind waiting a long time for more, just is there going to be more at all? Can you make more Zero Escape virtue/reward?
Didn't we finish it finally?
We did. Those comments are all from like 2 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Diana!
I am so sorry. I don't know why I had this written down on the wrong day, and then I came back and I was like, oh man, I got this exam to do, so I did that. Yeah, and then I checked my email, and I was like, oh, whoops.
So we're just talking about
Podcast. How people find the site.
Yeah.
What people have to say.
Oh, cool. I like
yeah,
that.
we're looking at like comments on videos and stuff,
We are reading YouTube comments.
How fun.
and they're mostly okay. The most mean one that we've seen so far is asking if we're all under 21.
I just wonder, like, what their implication was. Like, oh, we just don't understand these classic games. It's like, guys, this is like, we grew up with these games.
Yeah, that's probably...
Like, we know...
Yeah.
Like, we know, like, we're familiar with the time in which they were released, and we still say they are bad.
True.
You know, like we didn't, quote, have to be there. We were there. We know.
Well,
You know.
to be fair, I was not, which I think was a part of my. I think one of my main things was that Chrono Trigger got a little overhyped for me because it was a good game, but I didn't have like this like like experience that everyone seemed to suggest.
Yeah, it's difficult to go into a game that's called the best game ever.
Yeah.
And, you know, not be disappointed in some way.
Mm-hmm.
That's the same reason why I'm not as huge a fan of Ocarina of Time as a lot of other people. I'm actually not that huge of a fan of the 60 and 64 Zelda games. Actually, it's just, you know, they're okay. I like the music, but they're kind of quirky, especially Ocarina of Time. Because I could never, especially when I would go into the towns and stuff, I could never figure out where to go because they were just a flat background. Like, they weren't, like, 3D rendered. Like, I found Majora's Mask way easier to navigate because I didn't just randomly enter a building and then it was just a flat background all the time.
That's actually interesting because I've never played them, so I had no idea that was a thing.
Yeah, so, because Ocarina of Time, like, the main village, I think it is, like, it's, you know, Hyrule Village, I think it is just a bunch of flat backgrounds that your character just runs around on, and for me, personally, I find it kind of hard to figure out what's an obstacle and what isn't.
So, it's basically like Final Fantasy VII or Chrono Cross.
Yeah, kind of like that.
Weird.
Yeah, so it was. I found that really strange, especially since because the first game I actually played for the N64, or the first Zelda N64 game I played was Majora's Mask, actually. So that's probably part of it. Is I started with Majora's Mask and then went back to Ocarina of Time, and I was like, oh, well, this one is inferior. So, which of course is not going to make that many people happy.
Just to round off our discussion on the comments, because I think it's about time to move on to video games we've been playing. I'm just looking through the Mega Pony comments, because since it's like a high profile, there's a lot of just outside ones. And I'm enjoying going through, because Nathaniel usually, especially since this is his series, is replying with the gc.net channel. And I just find it amusing because Nathaniel's knows Spanish, and he's replying to all these comments in Spanish. Which is a really cool thing to do, because I would imagine that a lot of these people probably, you know, don't end up getting responses just because the people they're commenting on don't know English, or don't know Spanish, rather.
Yeah.
But it's just funny that it's like shifting, seeing the gc.net handle shifting between Spanish and English.
Interesting.
Yeah. It seems like a very Nathaniel thing to do.
I agree.
Alright, so unless there is anything else, why don't we move to games we've been playing. Well, let's. I always start to ask this, but I know what's most wanted by both our podcasters and people who listen. Let's hear about Ace Attorney.
Yay! I'm glad if I showed up for anything, it was just this part.
I specifically waited in case that you ended up being able to show up so that you would have your chance to talk.
Yes!
But James has also been playing it.
Yeah, I finished the game, actually.
I haven't finished yet.
You'll need to make sure you tell me, vaguely where you are, so that way I know not to spoil anything by accident.
I can tell you exactly where I am. I'm in the middle of Case 4.
Case 4.
I'm pretty sure. I think I'm coming up on the end, possibly, but I'm not sure yet. But I like it a lot.
Case 4 was enjoyable. I have to say, I didn't think there was too much of a weak case. At the very least, the third case, despite what a couple reviews I said explained, I don't know. I thought the third case, I will say the third case in this game, I thought it was pretty darn strong.
I liked the third case, which is weird for me because I usually absolutely hate the third case in every game.
Well, I mean, it's usually the weakest case.
But this one was good.
Why is it usually the weakest case, consistently across 5 games?
Well, here's what I've found, and this may not be true I'm trying to make sure this is true before I say it. With the exception of Justice for All, because that game didn't really have an overarching plot. In the original Ace Attorney, not really the first case is a tutorial case, it doesn't count. But usually there's some kind of overarching plot that is going on. So for example, in the original game, Case 2 and Case 4 were very much tied together. And then there was just Case 3 in the middle, and it felt awkward and out of place because it didn't connect to any of the bigger issues that were being explored. I think it's been forever since I've played Trials and Tribulations. I gotta think about it. But I mean, there was that totally works with Case 1 and Case 5 were very much tied together. And everything in the middle just felt really awkward.
Case 4 and Trials
and
Tribulations.
And Case 4. And Case 4. I forget about Case 4 in that game all the time for some reason. Even though
I
that's...
I forget about Case 2, actually, in Trials and Tribulations. I think that was the Ron Delight case. I hate
the Ron Delight case, and I hate the Cafe case. I do not like either of those cases, and I will actively skip them every time I play Trials and Tribulations.
Yeah, those are just... I mean... I will say I think I like the third case, or the second case a little bit more because it obviously showcases Godot for the first time, and I feel like although I will say I feel like Godot was kind of the only strong character in that case. And
I agree with
that. A case-exclusive character, he's in the rest of the game too.
And then even in Apollo Justice, you have the main case of the game being Case 4, and then Case 1 connects to Case 4, and the other two don't really.
Ugh, I never finished Apollo.
It's okay, you don't need to.
Game I've never finished. Yeah, I went through Case 2, and I stopped halfway through Case 2 just because I hated walkie so
good,
much.
You don't need to play Case 3.
Yeah.
I do not like Case 3 at all.
You don't like that game at all.
Game, I feel like, is different. No, I don't, but if I had to pick a least favorite case, it would be Case 3, because it just annoys me to no end. Mostly because you have to watch that stupid video clip so many times, and you can't skip it.
That sounds like Case 5 from the original Ace Attorney.
Maybe. But, I like Case 5, it has Emma.
Yeah.
But in this game, I feel like, it's different for me, because Cases 1 and 3, and presumably 5, are good, I haven't gotten there yet, so don't say anything, are linked together, and then, but the thing is, Case 2 and Case 4 are definitely filler cases, but I don't hate them.
Yeah.
They're fun.
Do the cases alternate? Because I thought that from the trailers and stuff that I've seen, that's what it seems like.
It alternates. It goes Phoenix, and then Apollo, and then it goes back to Phoenix, and then it goes Athena, actually. Which
and
also
don't say anything about Case 5. But I'm really, really excited for Case 5.
So Apollo based on I've only heard about this, so I'm not. This is none of my opinions are being expressed here. But Apollo seems to have conventionally been a very unpopular character here at GameCola.
Yeah.
How is he in this game?
Okay, here's what I'm thinking, and do not confirm this.
All right.
Do not confirm this. I think in Case 5, he might be lined up for some serious character development. Like, he might finally be getting the character development that I admittedly think he deserves. So, I'm very excited to see where they're going with this, because Case 3, like, drops a huge bomb on you about Apollo.
Yep.
And I'm very excited to see them follow up with what's going to happen. Unless they pull a freaking Apollo Justice, the original game, and don't talk about the main plot point of Apollo.
The miracle never happened.
Do you know how satisfying it would have been in Case 2 if they knew that major plot point that I'm not going to say for sake of spoilers from Apollo Justice? Do you even understand how satisfying that would have been? It would have been so good, but no. We can't spoil Apollo Justice because we somehow think people are going to go play that game. So
I mean, you can spoil it. You can spoil it. Just warn ahead of time. Just say, like, Apollo Justice spoilers.
Kind of breaking the fourth wall.
No, it's okay.
Because the fourth wall has been so intact this entire podcast.
I mean, okay, well.
You guys break the fourth wall while I was gone? I'm in charge of that.
We've been talking about the podcast comments from the beginning.
You left your post guarding the fourth wall.
That is true. No, I mean, I'm the one in charge of shattering the fourth wall.
You can talk about here's the official disclaimer, everybody. Spoilers for Phoenix Wright stuff.
For Apollo Justice.
Phoenix Wright stuff in general.
If Apollo had just known that he was half a Grammary, do you know how satisfying it would have been? A Grammary would have beaten him. Like, all he was worried about was that the bad guy in Case 2 was just worried about, I'll never be beaten by Grammary, like I beat them. And Apollo was half Grammary and he beat
you mean Case 2 of Spirit of Justice?
Yes. And but technically that is Apollo Justice spoilers because that's when you find out. But that would have been so satisfying, and you can't say anything about it because they don't know. It makes me so sad.
One thing I will say, though, is that I think, you were saying you really hope Apollo gets, some well-deserved character development. I think in Case 2, he actually did get some decent character development.
I think so, too.
Like, not super character development, but, like, they really went into more detail. They discussed, what his relationship is with Mr. Wright, specifically, which in Apollo Justice was kind of just like he's this, Apollo's just this guy who Mr. Wright wants to help him do some strange plan, which we don't really know until the very end.
And then doesn't even happen. I'd like to point that out. The jury system never comes into play ever again. Sorry, Phoenix. He was worried about getting his badge back after that. But I'm really loving the game so far. Like, I adore it much more than Dual Destinies. I do feel like there's a couple of things that it's giving me a hard, like, where I know what I'm trying to say, but I'm not doing things right.
Is what you're trying to say that the name puns are terrible? Because that's a thing.
The puns are terrible. Oh,
names.
I heard of, I don't know. There's a couple characters who, like, the puns are really bad, but they're put in clever ways. Like, so you played Case 3, so
That's what I was going to tell Joe about on this podcast.
Oh no, what now?
The second victim in Case 3.
I literally set the 3DS down. I was done. Like,
all
I was
right.
incredibly done.
Put it in the chat.
So, I'll do it in order.
Are bad. All of the characters in Case 3
all of that.
Such terrible names.
But the worst offenders are, so the High Priest is, I don't think there's, is there an apostrophe in his name? I don't think so.
Is.
There is? Where is it? Oh, never mind. I know where. Well, you're already typing it, so that's fine. The High Priest is that.
and then his wife's name.
I got it. I think I'm putting the apostrophe in the right place.
Apostrophe.
Yep.
No.
So the High Priest and then his
Why
wife.
believe?
And then the apostle of the high priest is, oh, that's not right. I need to do that right. But then that's not his real name, though.
That's not his real name. As soon as I learned of his real name, I just stopped. I was like, no.
Can you type that one? Because I don't remember how to spell it.
I don't remember it either. I don't remember how it was spelled, darn it.
It was, okay, just...
For those listening, we have Ta Rust in me, Believe in me, Pa Ray Ze Lot. All these pauses are apostrophes because apparently you can just do whatever.
That's not his real name.
What's his real name?
Yeah.
You want to say it?
I can't remember what it was. Gosh,
it's like, I don't remember.
It's really bad. Real Nemu. His real name is Real Nemu.
Wait, what? Say it. It hasn't hit me yet.
Real name.
His real name is Real Nemu. It's like they literally were trying to have a stereotypical Japanese accent.
I know, that's what I thought of.
It's like they were literally just saying his real name is Real Nemu.
I admit though, I'm not getting, in case 4, I get the master's names pun, but I don't think I get the disciples' names puns yet. It hasn't sunk in.
Oh, there's an entire Reddit thread designed to figuring this out. It's interesting. I didn't get the pun of the.
I don't think I spelled this right, but
name.
That's the master of case 4.
Yeah, Typhoon Tornado.
Typhoon Tornado.
Yeah.
Typhoon Tornado. Yeah. But I don't understand. I don't get the apostle, like the disciples' names.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Again, I think these ones, according to this Reddit thread, I think you may have to pronounce them as if you're like having like a weird accent. So it's Tornado, which is like, I think that's like if you had a bad Japanese accent, that's how they would say gale.
Gale? Okay, that's what I thought it was. Gale and wind.
Windo, which is wind.
That's what that's the one that clued me in. Then I figured it out, but I wasn't sure if I was right about Gale, because that was just a little... Yeah.
I'm going to tell you this, though. The puns in Case 5 are hilarious. That's all I'm going to tell you. They are hilarious.
Honestly,
they're bad, but hilariously bad.
Literally, I just dissolve into, like, there's like a second where I'm, like, looking at it and trying to figure out, and then I just dissolve into profanity.
Yeah.
And it's not pretty.
Yeah.
But anyways, so that's pretty much all I've been playing lately, except for Mystic Messenger 2, which I don't remember. I think I talked about it last podcast.
Yeah.
I am still playing that.
I have some friends who are playing Mystic Messenger 2, and apparently, I just learned because she got this happened at dinner today. Apparently, they also call you.
They call you, yeah. Okay, so Mystic Messenger is a dating sim by the same people that made Dandelion, which I totally forgot to say in the finale. I was so mad. I didn't notice until editing. I'm gonna have to do it next time when I record Dandelion. But it's a dating sim, and basically it's on your phone, and you basically the story is you get put into like a chat room with 4 handsome guys and 1 girl, and you're basically in charge of coordinating their party, where they invite a bunch of fancy people, and it's like a do-good party. Like they get people to fundraise and they do good stuff, and basically you choose one of the guys to date, and you meet them on day 11, which is just like a visual novel segment, and it's really cute. I like it a lot. I've completed 2 cycles of the game so far.
But it's real time, right?
It is real time. The chat room's open at specific times during the day. I may or may not have a guide for that on my phone of when the chat room's open. So I am currently dating the completely narcissistic guy who's not my type.
I heard about him. Like, wasn't one of his compliments that like your eyes are so beautiful because I can see myself in them?
I haven't gotten to that part yet, but
that sounds like a.
That might not have been him specifically. I've just heard that as one of the things.
I admittedly was not a fan of the first ending that I got, but I mean that's okay. Like I'm sticking with it because the problem is the guy that I really like is there's like a casual route and then like a deep route where there's like more like story and stuff. And so I think if I do all 3 routes on casual, then I can get the deep route. And so I'm doing that just so I can get this one guy. I'm gonna say
You find out he's actually secretly a pigeon.
This is slightly back to the other topic of terrible puns, but I forgot about this.
Yeah, that guy. Yep,
Man of mystery.
I was so mad at that one.
At least there's no apostrophes.
Well, because he's not Kuranese, so he doesn't get any apostrophes in his name.
He does not deserve apostrophes.
So I think that's basically all I've been playing. I wrapped up Dandelion last week, and that was an emotional experience for everyone, mostly me. And yeah, that's pretty much it for me. Just Ace Attorney and chat room, which I am totally not doing a chat room right now, guys. Just saying.
It was funny because I don't remember if that was before or during the podcast, but we were talking about people who play. One of the comments was someone saying that they like to play games while listening to the podcast, and I said some of the staff members like to play games while recording the podcast.
Consistently.
Yeah.
Very, very consistently in my case.
We're
I often do.
professionals.
So, Jeddy, have you been playing anything recently?
No.
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 Alright, glad to see you.
I'm trying to... Well, okay. I don't remember if I talked about this previously, but one of my coworkers brought in like a VR headset that I guess came with his phone, and I got to play VR Minecraft,
Ooh.
like I was in the game, and
Because
I got very
known for its immersion.
yeah. Well, like, it was funny is, at first, like, to sort of ease you into it, like, the default mode is you are sitting on, like, a couch in your Minecraft house looking at a Minecraft TV where you are playing Minecraft. So, like, you can look around your house, but it's like, basically it's like you're at your computer playing Minecraft. It's like there's this screen that you're looking into. And then, my friend turned on the actual, like, real virtual reality mode for me, and then I actually got to play as the character, and that made me very nauseous. like I was sitting in a spinny chair, and, like, I learned to, like, you have to turn in the chair as opposed to turning your head. But, like, any time that I would, like, fall down a cliff or jump or something, it would just, like, make me sick to my stomach.
I can imagine. Like, if you walk off an edge or something, that would just,
Like, it moves so fast when you fall. It was...
That's what gravity does, but... Yeah, it's kind of weird, like, it kind of makes you wonder, what is it about VR, considering it's just trying to mimic what we see in real life?
Whoa.
What is it about VR that still just doesn't quite sit right?
I mean, there's a lot of stuff about, like, the fluids in your inner ear or whatever that, like, can sense motion.
Yeah, it's like the way that people get car sick.
Yeah.
Like, it's that same sort of thing where, like, your brain is registering something that is moving, but you're, like, visually you're saying, oh, I'm moving. But your brain is saying, no, you're sitting completely still. Your inner ear is telling you that.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
that disconnect is like, something's wrong, stop everything. And the way that your brain does that is say, okay, feel sick to your stomach and stop doing whatever you're doing. With the car, it's sort of the opposite, where your ears feel like you're moving, but your eyes are telling you that you're not.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And, like, I mean, basically, before we had wild technology, the only times that we would have weird disconnects like that is if we were incredibly sick or had just eaten something very poisonous.
I haven't had a chance to try out VR yet, but we do still have Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes, so...
God.
Which I feel like would be a lot more stressful.
I've played that game on its own.
That would be so stressful.
If you're, like, actually
already
there with the
stressful.
ball.
Wow.
See, when I play it, it seems way more stressful for the other people than it is for me. Because there's, like, not really much... Paul, for Paul, it's, like, 50 times more stressful than any normal human being. How many wires are there? 4. Ah!
But it's only entertaining when we play with Paul.
But
For that same reason.
all I have to do is like do what people tell me to do. Like there's not really that much pressure on me because I don't have to like think. I just do what I'm told, and then if I blow up, I blow up. But there's no like personal responsibility.
I guess part of the thing is we're a great team here at GameCola. We have great communication skills with each other. We understand. So, like, when I say that the symbol looks like a bottom, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So, to be fair, I think everybody thinks that symbol looks like a bottom.
It looks like that. We know.
It's true.
Yes. I'm getting a call. Hold on.
From Mystic Messenger?
Yes. Do you want to hear it?
Yeah, let's all listen.
Okay.
Yes.
It's in Korean. So, I'm
This
just
is
saying.
definitely not going to be cut.
This is not going to be cut out at all, Joe, right?
For sure.
No, it's not.
Okay. Let's see if this will work.
하다가 생각난 게 있어서요. 잠깐만요.
Can you hear it?
Yeah.
거기서 그러면 안 되죠. 뒤에.
Yeah, they just talked to you. And I have a translation, thank God.
I was gonna say.
He's playing a video game right now, actually.
He's playing a video
Are
game.
you talking to him?
This
Well,
is
I
so
have
deep.
options that I can choose. The thing I think is funny is that, the thing that's funniest is that they always talk about, like, oh man, I wonder what you look like. Like, I guess I'll have to find out on the day of the party. My profile picture is literally a picture of me. They could tell what I looked like if they just looked up
I
my
don't
picture.
know that that's a picture of you.
Profile picture.
I mean, it's a great picture of me, honestly. Like, they should be glad that that's what I look like.
I mean,
But
you're not supposed to trust people based on their profile pictures on the
that
internet.
is true.
Yeah.
That is true.
They're probably just being cautious.
This is
Also,
the guy I don't like, anyways. So I'm just
also wasn't your picture used to be Emma Sky, right?
gonna. That is true. But this
And
is
that, I mean, like, for a long time, before you started using more pictures of yourself for icons, whenever I had to picture Diana, I would picture Emma Sky, because that's the
true.
only reference I had.
But this is actually a picture of me.
Yeah.
Is it a picture of you dressed?
Uh-uh.
That's Emma Sky.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, that would be fantastic, actually.
I mean, that's my Skype icon.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is
And my
that...
profile picture on Facebook, to be fair.
Yes.
But,
For a long time, my Skype icon used to be Clavier Gavin,
nice.
because, I mean, I don't look that similar. Heck, if I had to pick, just any visual novel game, I would say I look the most like Byakuya Togami from Danganronpa. Like, startlingly so, but... which is annoying, because I hate that he looks like me, because he's an arrogant jerk.
That's on my list of games to
Oh.
play.
Oh, it is very worth it, especially since now they're out on
Yeah,
Steam.
I'm waiting. I'm hoping they're going to get a little bit cheaper, because they're really expensive, and I don't know if I could justify it, but that is something that people have said that I should do blind on my channel.
Yeah,
So I would like to do that
I've just been
eventually.
starting to watch. I've been watching the Danganronpa 3 anime recently. I just started, so I'm not caught up at all. But holy cow. I don't watch much anime really at all, so I can't say, so I could be completely off, but I would say it seems like the production on that is really, really high. So I mean, heck, I might even recommend playing through the Danganronpa games just so you can watch the anime.
You know what anime doesn't have a high production is Ace Attorney. Sure, not in there.
Yeah.
Watch me. I can turn any discussion back to Ace Attorney. You guys are lucky to have me.
Well, it's apparent. I mean, like, going back to comments, like, I was reading through lots of comments and stuff, and I find, like, a lot of people come to the podcast just to hear Ace Attorney updates. So I feel like we should
glad.
play to our audience's desires.
We're gonna pan.
Well, to be
AceAttorneyCola.net.
I've been petitioning to change the site to PhoenixWright.net for a long time. So, Jeddy, you gotta get on that. Like, I'm telling you, it's the wave of the future. I'm hoping that once I finish Spirit of Justice and once Michael finishes, and whoever else wants to join in on this. Last time for Dual Destinies, Michael and I did a podcast where we just talked about the game, and I'm going to harass him to do that.
I would absolutely love to join in on
You
that.
are more than welcome
Awesome.
to come and talk with us, because it was funny, I just remember doing a podcast and then everyone left comments on it, so then we did another podcast specifically addressing the comments. And it was a full length podcast.
Was it on his channel or your channel or?
It was on GameCola.
It was? When?
Yeah.
Was I there?
It was, I can find it.
By the way, sorry, Phoenix Wright done that. Apparently they want $498 US
For what?
So,
Where do you look up these? Where do you look up these?
I went to phoenixwright.net and it said, buy now.
Well, at least
Buy
it's
this domain.
available.
Like,
Nice.
I'm just saying.
theoretically.
Okay, it's podcast number 69 and podcast 74 are Base Attorney podcasts.
It was just a long time ago. Okay.
Yeah, no, it was a while ago, because, Dual Destinies came out a while ago.
Okay.
But,
I was gonna say, I thought that Dual Destinies was a lot closer to
no, it was
when I was running the podcast, and it was like, I cannot remember a strictly Ace.
I did not approve.
Hey, I'm completely fine with an Ace Attorney themed podcast. I think a lot of our viewers would be super into that.
You should come.
Maybe
To Joe.
maybe 102 or 103.
Okay. Well,
I
I have to wait for Michael to be done anyways, because he's playing it on his channel, so...
I was gonna say, I think that the Phoenix Wright podcast was Michael Gray led, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was just the two of us.
Oh wait, actually, when was it?
It might have been a month where we had nothing else going on.
I'm trying to think, because I think it might have been the month that I was in Japan that I wouldn't have been available.
I can check when it was. Did you guys talk about the one comment on the YouTube videos that was about me on the cat podcast? Because I know Nathaniel brought that one to my attention specifically.
Which one was that?
We missed that one.
That was a good one. You should look up right now. Rizzy was on that podcast too. It was just us. And is this the long one, or is this the one where we talk about I don't know. I can't tell. This was in January 5th, 2014 was the first one, and we had another one where we just talked about Dual Destinies.
I guess I was just lazy that time.
I don't know. This one, on here, it's not numbered. It doesn't have a number on it, which is weird.
This is also slightly unrelated, but it is related to Ace Attorney, and on GameCola is that one of the random articles I saw on the right side when I was on the site was basically, I can't remember, I think it was Michael Gray talking about how there's not going to be any more Ace Attorney games.
Oh yeah, he does that.
2011 or something. He was just talking just despairingly about it. There's never going to be another Ace Attorney game. They're never going to localize DGS, or it was like AAI2 or something.
Well, they did recently announce Daigaku and Saibon 2, but they haven't localized the first one, so I am not that excited about it, because I don't think we're ever going to see the first one, which means we're not ever going to see the second one.
Yep, it's going to be Ace Attorney investigations all over.
Yeah, which I still want. At least we have the fan translation for that. Also, I want Edgeworth. There's been no Edgeworth in this game so far. They've shown a picture of him one time.
They showed a picture of
him. The best part of the game. I cried. But he's going to be in the DLC. They just need to release that faster. Before I finish. They gotta release it before I finish the game.
Yeah, Also, have you seen some of the other DLC? Phoenix Wright, Asinine Attorney?
I have purchased it, but I am waiting until I finish the game.
Well, the first one you don't actually need to finish the game. The first
I did read that, but I've never just found a good stopping point to stop playing the main game.
It is hilarious, I'm gonna tell you that much. It's so random.
That's my favorite thing.
It's also, I need to tell you this, it's non-canonical, which is actually important.
But is Edgeworth in it?
Do you want me to tell you?
No, actually no, I don't want to. You'll probably just see me tweet about it.
I was like, I thought you don't want spoilers.
No, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I'm going to be surprised.
You will be quite surprised.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
Oh, boy.
I'm scared now. Thanks a lot.
I'm also glad that they released the costume DLC for free for the first week.
Yeah, that was nice. Oh, I can't unhear Athena as Clover from, I think I said this last podcast, but now that, like, I hear it, like, her voice, like, in the game now, it's Clover.
From VLR?
Yes.
Wait,
Her
really?
voice is Clover. Yeah, I didn't notice it until there was one of the promo videos. I think it's where Athena's like talking about her maid outfit or something. They did like that countdown release video things on the Capcom YouTube, and one of them was Athena talking about her maid outfit for the Trebian costume outfit. And I clicked on the video just to listen to it, and I was like, why is Clover in this video? Like, this is not Clover, this is not VLR, what is this? And then I had to look it up afterwards, and her voice actress is the same as Clover from Virtue's Last Reward, and I was like, nope, not gonna be able to unsee this now. Like, that's cool. It's fine, whatever.
Yep. That's gonna be the next fan fiction we read is gonna be a VLR Ace Attorney crossover for Hack.
Hey, I've been looking for a good one of those for a while now. Because I want that to happen so bad.
If we could find one of those, that would be the best of both worlds for Hacks and Slash. That would just be covering all the bases.
I'm pretty sure there are some, but they aren't as good, so I feel like I'm gonna have to write one myself.
Oh, well, I mean,
Which I could do instead of finishing 10-10-10.
but it's not gonna be bad fan fiction.
But it'll be crazy.
It'll be
And
well,
we'll involve Old Guy being killed off first.
Yes, yes, justice.
I am so glad that she's not in this game. If she's in the DLC, don't say anything. But
Well, didn't they confirm that she wasn't in the DLC?
yeah, they did. That was one of the first things they confirmed was that she was not in this game. And I was like,
nope,
thank
you are
Lord.
not. Stop.
Get away
Your
from my
joke
man.
has gone too far.
It's escalated too much. Who hasn't gone for games that they've played yet? Turning us
What?
back to...
James, have you played anything aside from Ace Attorney?
I mean, I've played a lot of games recently. I've been playing, I played Danganronpa pretty recently. I've also been playing, some No Man's Sky and some other stuff. Kerbal Space Program. But I mean, these are games that I've had for a while and I just play on and off. So, nothing super special.
Well, I mean, since this podcast is being recorded pretty soon after the last one, since we recorded part 3 fairly late into this month because of when it was going up. So I kind of finished editing that podcast Sunday. And it's been a few days since then, and so I haven't really had a chance to play anything. And now I'm going to be editing this podcast. So this is why the podcast is not bi-weekly.
We have fun. We have fun here.
Because it would be pretty much the only thing I did in my free time.
But
Which
you
is
do a good
wouldn't
job.
be that bad, except for the fact that I wouldn't be able to play any video games, so I wouldn't be able to talk about video games.
Yeah, wouldn't kind of make much sense. Although I
Well, I
can't
mean,
say
that doesn't. Sorry, that never stopped. The rest of us.
It
But
wasn't
it's true,
bi-weekly though.
Well, no, I'm saying that not having played video games has never stopped.
Oh yes, this
Very
is true.
true.
That's true. But this isn't a video game per se, but I think Diana might find this interesting. Is what I've actually been doing for what's taken up a lot of my time recently is I'm actually part of an Ace Attorney fan group. We make
Ooh.
actual fan videos.
Oh, that's cool.
Yep, it's called Team Turnabout. So
Oh, that's really
Little
cool.
self-plug. This is gonna be cut.
No, you can
But
say that.
so I've just been doing that, and that takes a long time, I gotta say.
That's really
It's
cool,
a
though.
lot of work.
Awesome.
So, but we're on I'm in the middle of editing episode 6 for that, and I've been editing episode 6 for a couple months now. On and off.
Wow. That is dedication.
Yeah, we got a team of voice actors and stuff, which is funny because now it's partially happened that some of these characters, the headcanon voice for me now is our group's voice actors for them.
Oh, that totally happens.
Yeah.
If I've
Although
watched,
I have
like,
to say,
playthroughs.
our Edgeworth voice is far better than Edgeworth's DD voice actor, where he sounds like an old man.
I do have to say, for me, the voice for Gumshoe is still the one from Turnabout Musical.
I know.
Oh.
Like,
I love them. Did you hear they're performing it?
Oh, really? Are they actually?
Yeah, they're performing it for one day in like December in like Virginia or something, I think. I saw it on Facebook. And I
Wow.
was like, oh, that's so exciting. I wish I could go.
Finally.
They're so cool.
No,
Goals.
I didn't know they were actually like continuing their work several years later.
Yeah, I have all of the tracks on my iTunes, and I listen to them sometimes. They're really good. And
Okay.
I just saw it on Facebook like a while ago.
We interviewed them back in the day. I think they're one of our only,
Yeah, and it was
if
right before I
not
joined the
only
staff.
our only interview podcast. Jeddy, I don't know if you can confirm or deny that.
But there's been a couple others, but yeah, it's rare. Like I think they were our biggest.
Yeah.
I wish I was
Oh,
on the
didn't we
staff.
interview someone who made something called like Turtle Calls or something?
Yeah.
Yes, I remember that podcast.
Oh boy.
I don't remember anything except the term Turtle Call.
I remember listening to that podcast and being so confused.
He's still around. I follow him on Facebook.
Awesome.
Are we ready to wrap up?
Yes.
Sure.
All right. So, thank you for listening to this edition of the GameCola podcast. We're glad you could tune in. You can check us out on our actual internet website, GameCola.net, gaming outside the mainstream, and you can write comments, which we will read. You can also check us out on our YouTube channel that we talked about, GC.net, the letter G, the letter C, the word dot, and the word net. You will find places to comment there as well, and like the videos and rate. Well, no, you just like them now. You don't rate them anymore. Look off into the distance. You can also check us out on social media, Twitter and Facebook. Just search GameCola and you'll find us. If you want to catch our live streams, you can look us up on twitch.tv/GameCola. We have lots of fun live streams planned. You can check the podcast out on iTunes. Search GameCola on iTunes, and you can rate the podcast 5 stars if you like it, and you can forget that the podcast exists if you don't like it. So, there's that.
I mean, but why would you listen to an hour and a half to get to this point where we tell you that if you're gonna rate it low?
Yeah, that's
maybe
true. We
maybe.
this is the beginning. It's a disclaimer.
didn't-
If you don't
you
like
didn't-
this podcast, stop listening.
But if they did, what if they
That would be
didn't like the
automatic.
first part of the podcast so much that they skipped to the end where they knew there was going to be a plug,
Yeah.
so that they could figure out where to complain about the podcast?
That's a
That
good.
is very
That's
true.
a genius idea.
Please don't do that.
Except for the fact that the podcast article has all those links in it already.
It's also true.
See, also maybe we trick everyone. Maybe that's why nobody rates us low. Is because we have the outro song and then the post-podcast thing, and they're all like clicking around in the last couple minutes. They're like, I don't hear it. I'm just gonna leave. Right?
Maybe.
Is that everything? Did I get everything? You
I
think?
think so.
Okay.
I think
Oh no, the email. The email. This is important.
Oh,
It was relevant. If
Yeah.
you would like to ask us questions personally for us to talk on the podcast, please email us at podcast@gamecola.net, and we will read your questions and answer them. We're looking forward to some of those because we haven't had them in a while.
I love
Yes.
questions.
Yes, I missed them a lot. Honestly, that was some of our best
Me too.
discussions.
They're fun.
Because otherwise, we just talk about Ace Attorney. You know, it's podcast 100 Part 3. We just talk about Ace Attorney and Mega Man
Excuse
the whole
me.
time.
That is a great topic.
Yeah, we're just gonna get a bunch of fan mail now. We're just gonna get a bunch of fan mail.
Can everyone right now who's listening to this podcast just send an email to podcast@gamecola.net about Ace Attorney?
Or something
I
else.
love Trevor.
Or
No.
something else. Or at least include something else along with the Ace Attorney.
You
Is
don't
that
have
fair?
To do that. Don't listen to Joe.
Yeah, don't listen to him. Ace Attorney is love.
And come visit us at our soon-to-be location, phoenixwright.net,
AceAttorneyCola.net.
where we write about Phoenix Wright all the
Ace
time.
Attorney outside the mainstream.
Yes. Perfect.
Only play Ace Attorney spin-offs.
Yeah.
Hey, they do exist. We could play them.
Well, that's it. That's the discussion for another podcast. Thank you for listening. Have a good time of day wherever you are listening and whenever you are listening. And see you next podcast. Goodbye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Hey everybody, I'm Diana Gray, resident fangirl of GameCola.net, and I was late. So if you want to hear me talking, you should skip to the latter end of this podcast. Don't do that. I'm sure
skip.
there's lots of good content in the beginning.
Don't skip. Don't skip anything.
Just skip it.
Rude.
You gave me license to say what I wanted, and I did.
Hi, I'm Diana, and you should just skip to the Ace Attorney stuff.
Obviously. I mean, that's what you're here for. Yeah, I'll redo it. I won't say that.